Number 1. Ubuntu. Ubuntu is where most people start their Linux journey. And there's a reason for that. It looks simple on the surface, but it's designed to remove almost every barrier for beginners. First, installation is effortless. You install it, reboot, and you're ready to work immediately. Second, compatibility. It comes with GNOME, strong hardware support, and solid NVIDIA drivers out of the box, which is still not standard in Linux. Third, community. If you hit a problem, chances are it's already solved online with a step-by-step fix waiting for you. But here's the catch. Ubuntu pushes snap packages heavily. Many users find them slower and less flexible than alternatives, so Ubuntu isn't perfect. But as a starting point for Linux, it's still one of the safest choices you can make. Next, we go to something completely different. The foundation everything else was built on. Number 2. Debian. Debian is not just another Linux distribution. It's the foundation that a huge part of the Linux world is built on. And the philosophy here is very different. Everything in Debian is about stability. Not speed, not new features, stability. Updates are slow on purpose. Every package goes through strict testing before it reaches your system. That means what you install today is very likely to still work the same way years from now. This is exactly why Debian is used in servers, research systems, and critical infrastructure where failure is not an option. It uses deb packages and offers long-term support that can go beyond 5 years. And the biggest advantage? It's fully community-driven. No corporate pressure, no forced direction, but there's a trade-off. You won't get the latest software, and it's not beginner-friendly compared to Ubuntu. So Debian is not about convenience, it's about reliability. Next, we move to something that takes Ubuntu and redesigns it for simplicity and comfort. Number 3. Linux Mint. Linux Mint is what happens when someone takes Ubuntu and asks a simple question. How do we make this feel effortless for someone switching from Windows? Right away, the difference is obvious. The desktop looks familiar on purpose. You get a taskbar, a start menu, and a layout that immediately makes sense without learning anything new. First, usability. Linux Mint is designed so you can install it and start using it with almost zero adjustment time. Second, software control. Unlike Ubuntu, Mint removes Snap completely and focuses on more traditional and flexible package options like Flatpak. Third, out-of-the-box readiness. Media codecs and everyday essentials are already included, so things like video and audio just work from the first moment. This is why Linux Mint consistently stays one of the most popular Linux distributions for beginners. But here's the key point. It doesn't try to innovate aggressively. It prioritizes comfort over cutting-edge features. So if Ubuntu is the entry point, Linux Mint is the no confusion version of it. Next, we move to something faster, more modern, and built for developers and tech enthusiasts. Number 4. Fedora. Fedora sits in that perfect middle ground. Modern, fast-moving, but still structured and reliable. It's backed by Red Hat, which means it plays a very important role in the Linux ecosystem. Fedora is basically where new Linux technologies get tested before they reach enterprise systems. So if something proves itself here, it often ends up in Red Hat Enterprise Linux later. First, updates. Fedora moves fast. You always get recent kernel versions and up-to-date software. Second, GNOME. New GNOME releases usually appear on Fedora before anywhere else, which makes it feel very current and polished. Third, security. SE Linux is enabled by default, adding an extra layer of system protection out of the box. But there's a trade-off. Fedora expects you to keep up. Every 6 months, you'll need to upgrade to a new version. So it's not unstable, but it's not set and forget either. This is why Fedora is a favorite among developers and tech enthusiasts who want modern tools without building everything manually. And even Linux's creator, Linus Torvalds, uses Fedora as his daily system. Next, we move to something even more extreme, where control matters more than convenience. Number 5. Arch Linux. Arch Linux is not an operating system you simply install. It's a system you build from the ground up. From the moment you boot it, there's no graphical installer, just a terminal. And from there, everything is in your hands. Partitioning, bootloader setup, system configuration, every single step is manual. First, control. Nothing comes pre-installed beyond the base system. No desktop environment, no extra tools, no assumptions. You decide everything. Second, updates. Arch follows a rolling release model, which means you're always on the latest software without waiting for version upgrades. Third, learning curve. It's steep, very steep. but that's intentional. Arch forces you to understand your system, and when you do, you don't just use Linux, you understand it. The Arch Wiki is also one of the most powerful documentation resources in the entire Linux world, used even by people on other distributions. But here's the reality. Arch is unforgiving. One mistake can break your setup. So Arch is not about comfort, it's about master. Next, we move to a version of Arch that tries to make all of this a bit more accessible.
Number 6. Kali Linux. Kali Linux is not designed to be a normal operating system. It's a specialized cybersecurity tool built by Offensive Security, and based on Debian, it comes preloaded with over 600 security tools right out of the box. Network scanning, vulnerability testing, digital forensics, password auditing, everything is already there. First, purpose. Kali is built for penetration testers and security professionals who need a ready-to-use security lab. Second, real-world use. Companies use it to test their own systems and find weaknesses before attackers do. Third, misunderstanding. A lot of beginners install Kali thinking it makes them a hacker. It doesn't. The tools require knowledge, experience, and legal responsibility. And outside of cybersecurity work, Kali is not a daily driver. It's not optimized for general use. So Kali is not about convenience or entertainment. It's about security and specialization. Next, we move to a distro that focuses on structure, control, and powerful system management tools.
Number 7. openSUSE. openSUSE is one of those distributions that doesn't get much mainstream attention, but the engineering behind it is seriously strong. It comes in 2 versions: Tumbleweed, which is a rolling release with the latest software, and Leap, which is a stable version aligned with enterprise-grade Linux systems. First, control. openSUSE gives you flexibility to choose between cutting-edge and long-term stability depending on your needs. Second, system management. It includes YAST, a powerful control center where you can manage users, network, software, and system settings all in one place. Third, safety. Snapper automatically creates system snapshots, so if something breaks after an update, you can roll back your system easily. It's also known for having one of the best KDE Plasma experiences in the Linux world, but the community is smaller compared to Ubuntu or Mint, so you won't find the same level of instant online support. Still, for system administrators and advanced users, openSUSE offers structure and control that's hard to ignore. Next, we move to a system built by a hardware company and optimized for real-world performance from day one.
Number 8. Pop! OS. Pop! OS is built by System76, a company that actually ships Linux laptops, and that detail changes everything about how this system feels. It's based on Ubuntu, but heavily optimized for real hardware performance, especially graphics. First, drivers. Pop! OS provides separate ISO images for NVIDIA and AMD, meaning your GPU works properly right from the first boot without manual setup. Second, productivity. It includes built-in auto-tiling window management, which automatically organizes your windows for multitasking without dragging and resizing everything manually. Third, gaming and performance. Because of its GPU focus and clean defaults, Pop! OS is one of the most recommended Linux distros for gaming and heavy workloads. And System76 is also developing Cosmic, a new desktop environment designed for a more modern and integrated Linux experience. But there's a limitation. Pop! OS follows System76's direction, so your experience evolves based on one company's roadmap. Still, for many users, it removes one of Linux's biggest problems: hardware setup. Next, we move to a distro that tries to take Arch Linux and make it actually usable for everyday users. Number 9. Manjaro. Manjaro takes the power of Arch Linux and tries to make it accessible to normal users. Instead of forcing manual setup, it gives you a full graphical installer, pre-configured desktops, and a system that works immediately after installation. First, ease of use. You don't need to build the system from scratch like Arch. You just install it and start using it. Second, rolling updates. Like Arch, Manjaro is always up to date, but it delays updates slightly to test stability before pushing them to users. Third, software access. You still get access to the Arch ecosystem and the AUR, which gives you thousands of community packages with minimal effort. But there's debate in the Arch community. Some users say Manjaro removes the real Arch experience by hiding too much of the manual control, and criticism makes sense if your goal is to learn Arch deeply. But if your goal is to get Arch power without Arch complexity, Manjaro becomes a very practical middle ground. Next, we move to a distro that's lightweight, fast, and quietly one of the most stable systems out there.
Number 10. MX Linux. MX Linux is one of those distributions that quietly stays at the top of popularity lists without hype, marketing, or corporate backing. It's based on Debian Stable, which gives it a very solid solid and reliable foundation. First, performance. It uses the XFCE desktop by default, which is lightweight, fast, and works smoothly even on older hardware. Second, efficiency. RAM usage is very low at idle, which means systems that struggle on other distros can still feel usable here. Third, usability tools. MX Linux includes the MX Tools Suite, a set of graphical utilities for system maintenance, snapshots, drivers, and package management, all without needing the terminal. So you get a system that feels simple but still powerful under the hood. It doesn't chase new trends or experimental features. It focuses on stability and practicality. But that also means it's not the most modern-looking or cutting-edge system. Still, for older hardware or users who just want something fast and reliable, MX Linux is a very strong choice. Next, we move to a distro that focuses heavily on design, consistency, and visual experience. Number 11, Elementary OS. Elementary OS is built for one thing above everything else: design. It takes Linux and turns it into a clean, polished, and highly consistent experience. First, look and feel. It uses its own desktop environment called Pantheon, which is heavily inspired by macOS in terms of layout and simplicity. Second, consistency. Everything in the system follows strict design rules, from animations to app behavior, which makes the experience feel very unified. Third, App Center. Instead of overwhelming you with software, it gives you a curated selection of applications designed specifically for Elementary OS, so the experience feels controlled, intentional, and minimal. But there's a trade-off. The ecosystem is smaller, and you won't find every application you might expect compared to Ubuntu-based systems. Still, for users who care about aesthetics, simplicity, and a clean workflow, Elementary OS stands out. It's not trying to be the most powerful Linux distribution. It's trying to be the most pleasant to use. Next, we move to the final distro, built specifically for users switching from Windows or Ubuntu to macOS or Windows. Number 12, Zorin OS. Zorin OS is designed with one clear goal: to make switching to Linux feel completely familiar. It's based on Ubuntu LTS, but the experience is tailored specifically for users coming from Windows or macOS. First, familiarity. You can choose desktop layouts that look like Windows 11, Windows 7, or even macOS. So instead of learning a new system, you simply pick what feels comfortable. Second, compatibility. Zorin includes a compatibility layer that allows many Windows applications to run directly, reducing one of the biggest barriers when switching away from Windows. Third, simplicity. From installation to daily use, everything is designed to require minimal configuration. The free version gives you the core experience, while Zorin Pro adds extra layouts and additional tools. Compared to something like Linux Mint, Zorin focuses more on visual familiarity and Windows app support, rather than just simplicity. So the question it answers is very direct. Will this feel like home? And for many users, the answer is yes. Now that we've gone through all 12 distributions, it's time to step back and see the bigger picture. Conclusion: 12 Linux distributions and 12 completely different ideas of what Linux should be. Some are built for beginners, some are built for control. Some focus on stability, while others push the latest technology as fast as possible. But none of them are objectively the best, because the right choice depends entirely on how you use your system. If you want simplicity, there's a distro for that. If you want performance, there's a distro for that. If you want full control, there's definitely a distro for that. So instead of asking which one is the best, the real question is, which one is the best for you? Now, I'm curious, which Linux distro are you using right now? Or which one are you thinking about trying? Leave it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, consider subscribing.